Hello and welcome to part 2 of the Tristar 747. In this video we'll be fitting some remaining modifications that need to be done where I had to order parts and getting on with the PIC base modification. So the first modification we need to do is the bias on the pre-drive, and as you can see we have 0.62 of a volt on the base of the pre-drive transistor. Now the modification for this is we need to remove a resistor and change it for a different value. So we're going to take out R40 and replace it with a 33 ohm resistor. And there's our 33 ohm resistor in place. So let's do a voltage check of the base of the pre-drive, and there you can see it's improved it now to 0.72 of a volt, which is perfectly acceptable. So this should help with SSB audio clipping. As we've already done the modification to the final in the previous video, that should be the output stage, all correctly biased. Now we're going to do a modification to improve the audio limiter performance, which requires the removal of R150 and changing it to a 5.6 k ohm resistor. This should improve the audio a little bit as well. So that's a simple modification to do. Now the next modification is we're going to unlock the clarifier, which requires removal of D7 and R18 and 9 volts connecting to the clarifier. So we've done that and we get a moderate swing on the clarifier, but we're going to try and improve that a little bit. After reading about on the internet, one guy on one of the forums did some tests with these Varactor diodes, and he said if you put 2 in parallel you get quite a decent swing. So we're going to remove that precious ITT Varactor diode and we're going to replace it. Plus I've also added a resistor onto the clarifier to centre it. As you can see we've got 2 Varactor diodes in parallel. So we're going up to 5.8 and down to 5.2, and I believe it was 5.3 on the last one. So we've got a little bit more swing, not too much, but I think this is about as much as we can go without some serious modification, but I'm happy with that. Anyway, there's our PIC based board. So this board will give us alphas, it will give us zeros, and it will give us UK40. So before we take the PLL out, I'm going to freshen up the solder. This should make it a bit easier to remove. And then using the desolder gun, we're going to unsolder the PLL chip. I've sped this up a little bit. This desolder gun makes short work of that. And there's our PLL chip, PLL02AG, 3rd week of 81 date code. So as always with this modification, we're just going to insert it from the track side of the board, just to make sure that the holes are wide enough to fit these pin headers through. Normally it just means just putting it in and giving it a little wiggle, just freeing it off, and it makes it nice and easy to fit from the other side. So we need to place our PLL chip onto the modification board. The little bend of the pins and then we push the PLL firmly into the IC socket. Okay, so we just need to make sure that any components that are close to the PLL socket, we can just gently move them out of the way. Usually it's just a couple of capacitors that just need leaning over a little bit. Once you've done that, it fits in nicely. Just like that. A nice clean install. So we're just going to move that test point out of the way because it was a little bit close to the PIC chip. There, in place. See, some of the components do get a little close, but just nudge them out of the way. And then solder in the modification board. There, nice and tidy, no cut tracks. A neat installation. And should this radio ever be converted back to standard, it's very easy. So let's do some tests. So everything looks good. Okay, all the standard 40 channels work. There's our low band. That works nicely. Now let's check the VCO voltage. As you can see, we're out of lock. So with some careful adjustment with a non-inductive turning tool that fits perfectly into this VCO core, we can start to bring the VCO voltage up and get it into lock. Okay, everything's looking good. We don't need to actually change the VCO in this radio because we have got a lock from channel 1 low band all the way up to channel 40 UK FM. Just with a little bit of adjustment. So there's our UKFM selected, 605, and the unlock clarifier brings it up to, or brings it down to 615, which is perfectly acceptable. But seeing we're going to be adding zeros onto this, we can actually select 0 and move the clarifier the other way to gain the correct frequency for UKFM. So there's two ways of doing it on this radio. So let's test the zeros. So you can see we're on 555. Connect the 0 wires down onto 550. So that works a treat. As you may or may not know, the 0 modification normally means cutting tracks and moving wires up. But with this board, nice and clean. Anyway, stay tuned for part 3 of this series. We'll be finalising all the modifications and replacing the band switch. Anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.